to another episode of Lucas Live. So glad to have you guys here with us today. It is Tuesday, August 25th, 2020. We'll welcome you guys to the show. You guys may be watching this live. You may be watching this replay. You may be listening to this as a podcast. You may be watching this years from now, and we want to welcome you to the show. We want to welcome you in. Don't feel like if you missed it live, you can't watch us, or you've already missed it, or you're already too late. You're not too late, okay? We appreciate those views. We appreciate you guys watching. We appreciate the shares and the discussion. Thank you all who I see out in the community and everywhere I go who stop me and let me know they've been watching the show and enjoying the show. For people who send the messages and the calls and the texts and the emails, thank you guys so much. You guys make this show great. It's about our audience. It's about our wonderful guests. It's about you guys. This show is my way of giving back to all of you. It's not about me. I'm blessed to be the host. If you guys haven't seen this show before, my name is Lucas Tyndale, and I am the host of Lucas Live. And as the host, it is my job to serve. The host has to be gracious, right? It's the host is not about the host. The host is here for those who are coming to attend. So I'm here for our guests, and I have a wonderful, wonderful guest today. And I'm here for our audience, those of you who are here live, and to those of you who are watching by replay. We really appreciate you guys, and we're excited about today's show. We actually today are going to kick off a little commercial. Let me see if I got this queued up right. I'm going to show you Flawless Touch LLC is a local window tinting business here. And I want to show you guys a few of the cars as we get started. As you guys are jumping in, they have sponsored today's episode. And I just want to highlight some of the work that they have done. If you're looking to get your car windows tinted, you want to go to Flawless Touch LLC. Take a look at some of these pictures. Make sure you're following Flawless Touch on Facebook. You guys check out some of these cars here that they're doing. Look up Flawless Touch LLC. If you are thinking about getting your car windows tinted, they make sure you're not beyond the legal limit, but your car looks good, keeps your car cooler in the summer, and makes you look cool as you're riding down the street. So you guys make sure you check out Flawless Touch LLC. Shout out to my brother, Richard, who is the wonderful owner of Flawless Touch. Shout out to him. You guys make sure you check out Flawless Touch LLC. Get your windows tinted. Check it out. Great business, black business, small business. Support that business. Okay, everybody, make sure you guys check that out. As we're starting our show today, I also want to make sure we take a minute to call for justice for the killers of Breonna Taylor. As we realize they have yet to be arrested, and we know that was a senseless act of violence. And that something should be done. We live in a country where justice is supposed to be served. At least people are to stand trial for the things that they've done. People go to jail for involuntary manslaughter when they hit somebody with their car and it's an accident. These men went in, and I'm not saying they went in to kill Breonna Taylor, but Breonna Taylor is dead as a result of their actions, and something needs to be done. Also, we know that Sunday, Jacob Blake was shot by the Wisconsin police. And I don't understand it from the video that I saw. It was saddening once again to see another black man shot by the police in the back multiple times in front of his children as he calmly walked away, as he was unarmed. I don't understand, ladies and gentlemen, and I don't understand if you don't understand. I don't understand if you're continuing to make excuses. I don't understand. If you'd say, well, if they just comply with the police, this wouldn't happen. Well, it does our Constitution and this great flag that everybody fights over say that if you walk away from the police or you resist arrest, they get to be your judge, jury, and executioner right there on the street. Is that what it says in our Constitution? I don't think so. Now, are there countries around the world that are like that? Yes, there are. And we don't like those types of countries, and those aren't democracies, and those aren't countries with constitutions that model ours. And we fight around the world to say that these types of actions and things are wrong, and yet in our own country we have things like this going on. We have to stand up, we have to speak up, we have to vote locally and nationally, we have to say something, we have to protest, we have to do things to say this is not acceptable. We cannot continue to live like this, we cannot continue to allow this, ladies and gentlemen. It is not okay that people are being killed, and people are arguing Black Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter, All Lives Matter. All of that, that is not the point. I'm wearing pink today to represent breast cancer because my mother passed away from breast cancer. Breast cancer is the thing that took my mother's life. So I want to make sure that I'm doing all I can to fight for breast cancer. If somebody, I don't think anyone, and no one has ever walked up to me and said, well, Lucas, you do know that all cancers matter, right? You are aware that all cancers matter and all cancers kill, and therefore you focusing on breast cancer is not really the right way to go. You need to focus on all. Nobody says that because breast cancer took my mother's life. Breast cancer is the thing that is a problem that is near and dear to me. Breast cancer is something that I need to highlight because it is a problem. It is still taking too many lives. Okay, so to say that all lives matter, well, sure, all cancers matter. Well, sure, all lives matter, but all cancers don't matter unless breast cancer matters. And all lives don't matter unless Black lives matter. If we don't start paying attention and we don't start accepting the fact that this is senseless and this should not happen. And I know people say, well, Black people are killing Black people as well. Well, white people are killing white people and Asians are killing Asians. Oftentimes, what it is proximity. That's a geographic problem, a problem of poverty. There's a lot of other reasons that goes on. But when the superheroes come in and start killing the people, when those that are trained to serve, to rescue, to save are coming in and killing the people, that's a problem. That's different than criminals hurting people. That's different than gang members killing gang members. All of it is terrible. Don't get me wrong. I am not saying in any way that that's okay. However, when those who are sworn in to protect and serve are killing the citizens in their communities, we should be very concerned, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm sorry we had to take this serious tone here for a moment, but it's serious to me, ladies and gentlemen. If you guys, I want to thank you guys, and I want to make sure that we know that this is how I feel about it. I don't know all the details of the Jacob Blake situation, but from the video that I saw, I don't understand shooting someone in their back who's calmly walking away from you. What happened to tasers? You have other officers. I just don't understand it. I don't agree that they should burn the city down and tear up small businesses. I don't agree that that is the right way to go about it. However, when people are revolting, when there is a revolution, that is how our whole country was built, on a revolution. So it's a part of our country. It's a part of how we were founded. We can't be shocked. And even our Constitution is set up to give people the right to protest, to bear arms, to do things to protect themselves, even from their own government, even from their own policing, that's how our country was set up, to make sure that there was never any ability for our government or those in power to take such control that we wouldn't have our rights and wouldn't be able to protect our own civil freedoms. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much. That is important for me to share that this morning. Let's make sure we share this broadcast. I'm going to jump on my page and share this broadcast this morning. It's really easy. If you're on Facebook, you just go to the broadcast here on Lucas Live Media. You hit share, right to post. You don't even have to write anything. Just hit post, and boom, it throws it on there. If you're on LinkedIn, if you're on YouTube, you can also share these broadcasts. You can send them to somebody as a text. You can share it as a inbox or as a message, and we really appreciate those shares, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate everybody who's here. Thank you guys for the shares. Sharice, Tamika, Corinne, we see you guys who are in here already this morning. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We have a wonderful guest this morning. This woman is someone who I've been following. I've been a fan from afar for many years for the great work that she has done in the community. Her and I met today for the first time officially. We were talking this morning, and I could have talked to her for another hour. And guess what? I get to talk to her for another hour, and you guys get to listen to the conversation. So we're going to be talking to Miss Betty Smith. You may know her from her enrichment program. You may know her from On Track with Betty Mack. Here locally, you may know her from her show. And she's just going to share her story with us today, tell us more about her organization, her foundation, her nonprofit, I should say, and all the things that she's doing to help people in the community. Without any further delay, I'd like to welcome to the show my wonderful guest, Miss Betty Smith. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Lucas. Thank you for having me.
It is an honor and a privilege and a pleasure, and we were excited once we got you booked. Myself, my producer, my manager, we are fans. We believe in the work that you're doing, and we want to spread the word today. So we want people to know about you. Yep.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Miss Betty Smith, there are people watching us locally who have heard of you, who know you, and there's people who are watching us from around the world who may not know you, Miss Betty Smith. Can you start by telling us right now your current foundation organization? Tell us currently the things that Betty Smith, On track with Betty Mac. Tell us the things that people know you for right now.
Right now, they know me for enrichment. Enrichment means enjoying the richness of music, education, nurturing, and training. Enrichment provides free music lessons, instruments, education. We have art, dance, choir, garden, theater, TV production, graphic design, and drumline
Whew.
for underserved urban youth ages 5 to 18.
I
That's
love
what
it.
enrichment is all about. It's all about the young people. It's all about our youth. I do it because I love youth. I do it because this is something God commissioned me to do.
I love it.
And we're in our 8th year. And I tell you, they keep me going. They keep me young.
I love it. I
They
love
really
it.
do. I love working with the children. Um, I would 70% of the youth that come to our program are low to moderate income. And I want those youth who cannot afford music lessons, who can't afford an instructor. We do have a good mix of youth in our program, however. We have a very diverse program, primarily African American, but we do have white and we have Hispanic in our program. We're well-rounded and we're all one big family.
I love
And
it.
that's another thing I like about it because we love one another, we support one another. Whatever's needed, it's not just about the child, it's about the family.
Yeah.
So if a family comes to me and they need something such as housing, or if they need a referral for some counseling or something, because that's the social worker in me,
Uh-huh.
I connect them with, some of the resources that we have right here in Canton.
I
So
love it.
it's all about the family.
I love it. I love it. I think it's a very diverse set of services, right? Like
Right.
the things that you guys are doing. I've seen you guys doing the drum line and getting people involved and getting. What do you think about music? Why music, one, and what does that do for youth?
Well, music, that they say music calms the savage speech.
Uh-huh.
Music is something that everyone can relate to,
Hmm.
and everybody has a different feel for music. I like, all genres of music, but some people, are into the R&B or the hip hop or the blues or whatever, and it just soothes you. It just makes you feel good. When you're kind of feeling a little low or a little down, you turn on your music,
Yep.
and you just, it just calms you. And of course, I love gospel music, Christian music, and anything with positive words.
I love it.
That's what I like, and
Yes.
I don't like the profanity. A lot of young people get into that, but I don't.
Right.
Yeah, I love, yeah, but I like, I like a little bit of every kind of. I even like country and
I
western.
like a little bit of country too. I don't tell
Yeah,
people that
I
too
get into
often, but
that.
yeah. I
Yeah,
love
we
it.
get into that. But music is just. I think music is important. I think the arts are important. I've seen the arts change lives in our young people.
Yeah.
We have a lot of gifted young people. Sometimes they don't even realize they have a gift.
Yeah.
Whether it's drawing, whether it's singing, whether it's playing an instrument, and sometimes they don't feel they can do anything. They come into our program sometimes broken,
Yeah.
thinking, "Oh, I don't want to be here. My mom wants me here, but I don't really want to be here,"
Yeah.
and only to find out that they have a talent.
Mm.
Sing, they can dance, they can act,
Yeah.
and we just have so much talent here in Canton, Morningstar County.
I
We
love
have
it.
we have a lot of talent here.
That's
Just
awesome.
I wanted to share a little story with you.
Sure.
We have a young man that was in our camp this summer, and he they call themselves the 3Ds. Well, they sing, and
Okay.
so I said to the young man says, "Well, I don't really sing. I really like to draw, but my cousins want me to sing, so I sing with them." And so then I said, "Well, what do you like to do?" He says, "I really like to draw." Well, long story short is this young man, 10 years old, is brilliant. He
Mm.
showed me his sketches, things that he just sits down and creates drawings of buildings and things. And I said, "You know what do you want to be when you grow up?" He said, "I want to be an architect." So I said, I need to connect you with someone. So I
Mm.
called this architect friend of mine, name is Rod Meadows,
Uh-huh.
and I said, "Rod, you have to see these drawings." And so I took them to Rod and he looked at them. He looked at me. He said, "How old is this young man?" I said, 10. He said, "No, no." He said, "This has to be a college student."
Wow.
He said, "I don't even know if it's college." He said, "These drawings," he said, "this kid is a genius."
Wow.
He just kept sitting there and saying, "Are you sure?" I said, "I'll let you meet him, right? If you want to meet this young man." So I set it up so that he could come and brought his mom, and he met with Rod, and he said, Rod was questioning him. Where do you get this? How do you draw all of this? He just shrugged his shoulders and said, I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know where it comes from. He just sits down and begins to draw all these buildings and landscapes, and it's something. So right away, Rod said, I need to connect you with the STEAM Academy. So he got in touch with the art director there, talked about this young man. She said, I want to meet him. He set up a meeting. She said, I need him in my school. She said, he'll get lost otherwise. She said, I need to set up a special program for him.
Wow.
And he's all set up now in STEAM Academy. And I'll tell you, I wish I had his pictures. I will send you some of his sketches.
That would be awesome.
I mean, this just a genius.
Wow.
A lot of talent like that. But you know, when you find that, you have to not just say, oh, this is great.
You're right.
You have to do something.
I love that.
So we take you to that next step in enrichment.
Yes.
And connect you.
That's so important. I think there's so often, it's easy to be critical, right? Every generation judges the generation after them and the generation after them. And right? They're all crazy. They're all out of control. And this music and this.
I'm so tired of hearing that. That's right.
Yeah. And it's like, or we could say they're into music that maybe I don't enjoy, say the next generation, but they're clearly into music. So let's explore their musical interests and enrich that in a positive way. And that's what you've done.
And that's what we do.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
That's so good.
We give them that opportunity to express themselves. And, you know, we also give them an opportunity to make choices.
Yeah.
They might come in saying, oh, I think I want to sing, only to find out they really can dance.
Wow.
Okay, then you don't have to sing. Switch over to dance. Or if you want to, you can do both.
Right.
Sing, dance, and play an instrument. And it's
it.
all good. It's all good. We have trained drummers to go to their local schools and play in the drumline. They're playing their band. Teach them how to play a clarinet. Teach them how, and then they can go and play at their school.
That's amazing.
So we prepare them to go on and do something bigger and better.
That's awesome. I think it's so important for us. You know, this show is about education, motivation, liberation. I think sometimes our kids are bound by what they don't know, right?
Yeah.
To learn you have a gift is liberating. They're all trying to figure out how to fit in, not understanding that they were made uniquely with some special gifts and talents some God-given ability, and they have no opportunity to explore it. And so they learn to do something else with it, and sometimes it's something less productive. Whoever nurtures the gifts inside of us is the person who leads us down the path that we're going to kind of head down, right? So
that's exactly right. That's right. And we do that at enrichment. The instructors, we have wonderful instructors that care about the kids. They have to care about them or they wouldn't be there.
Right.
You have to love these kids. And sometimes, you know, they come in with their habits on and a little chip on their shoulder or if something happens to home.
Yeah.
You know, there's dysfunction in all homes.
Yeah.
And we have to learn how to deal with it. I have an intervention behavior specialist that works with me, particularly in the summer, because we have a lot of kids in the summer. And some of these kids come and they have problems. We have ADD, ADHD, autistic children, and we work with them. We work with the family. But, you know, I find out for these children, particularly those with special needs, they love the garden. Garden is healing.
Yeah.
And we have a beautiful garden on the corner of 7th Street Northwest in Canton. And I tell you, from 5 to 18, they love to hang out in the garden.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I love it. There's so many things that I think, one, I'm grateful for the things that I was exposed to, and then I think there's a lot of things that I didn't know I didn't see, right? When we don't see outside of our local community, we don't even, and then our local community doesn't bring things in for us to see. We're often limited in our thinking. We don't know about, now, is it called horticulture? I want to make sure I see, what is, okay. So tell us. So that's the gardening and that piece.
Gardening, and my instructor, Debbie Blunt, she's very good, and she's very good with the children. And so it's educating them about seeds, and it's how, you know, when you're going to plant something in the ground, it's going to grow into something you can eat, which some of the kids didn't believe. You mean this little seed's going to make something I can eat? Of course it is. Right. And then when they watch it grow, wow, they're just blown blown away.
Yes.
And so we have the garden. We have vegetables in the garden, and we also have beautiful flowers. And then the kids and the families come and they harvest them. They pick the tomatoes and the
It's
zucchini and the
amazing.
cucumbers and the cabbage and the collards. And
Ooh,
so,
I love it. I love it.
and you know what? And it's all healthy because we try to teach them about a healthy lifestyle.
That's
Eating healthy, very important.
amazing because so many kids, especially in the inner city, are in what are they called, food deserts, right? They're in places where there's
That's
not a
right.
lot of access to fresh fruit and vegetables. There's a
Exactly.
McDonald's on every corner, but there's not a lot of not a lot of places to get healthy food, and so they grow up thinking, well, that's normal. My I had a French fries and I had vegetables and that's it,
I
right?
know. Yeah,
Yeah,
not good.
not good.
Oh, the Bible says, be moderate in everything. So, okay, you can have a French fry every now and then or a hamburger, but you have to have those fruits and those vegetables and
Yeah.
drink your water. You have to
Yes.
put that in there. And I think that's important. So that's what we teach the young people, how to eat healthy. We have a creative cooking class, and it takes things that we get from the African Canton Food Bank, and Miss Debbie teaches the kids, how to make healthy smoothies or how to put something in a microwave and make it good. And they
Wow.
love the class.
Right.
It's awesome. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you guys are just now tuning in, we have Miss Betty Smith, head of the enrichment program here in Canton, Ohio, as well as on from the show On Track with Betty Mack. We're so glad to have her here. I'm your host here, Lucas Tidell, here on Lucas Live. And today we are talking about all things Betty Smith, what's going on with her. And we're going to hear a little bit about her story. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to hear a story about a celebrity a little bit later that Miss Betty had an opportunity to meet and spend some time with and build a relationship with and do some work with, and she was in a many movies. This person, I'm gonna give you guys some hints you may not know. She was in many movies. One of the top celebrities in Hollywood over the years. When I was younger, I thought I was gonna marry her, but it didn't turn out that way. But my wife, shout out to my beautiful wife, Corinne Marie. Honey, you're far better than this lady we're going to talk about today. But Miss Betty got to meet somebody pretty special through some of the work she's done, and we're going to get to that story. But first, let's rewind back. Can you start telling our audience a little bit about your life? Where did you grow up? What was your life like? Because somehow you became this person who lives a life of service. You are still spending your time, talent, and treasure serving young people, serving the community. When so many people would say, well, when I get a little bit older, I'm retiring. I'm out of here. I'm somewhere relaxing. I did my work. You're still working and serving and working and serving. Tell us a little bit about where your story began.
My story began when I grew up in a little small town in Indiana
Mm-hmm.
called Logansport, Indiana. It's
Mm-hmm.
around Kokomo, Indiana, Indianapolis, in that area. A family of seven, wonderful mother. My father died I was 8 years old, and my father died. Left my mother a widow
Mm.
at the age of 28. My mother was
Wow.
28, and I can remember a story seeing people at the funeral after the funeral, and they said, "Oh, you told my mother, oh, you cannot raise these children. You're young, and you don't have a job, blah 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 blah." And my mother stood up with her hand on her hip and said, "No one will take my children away from me.
Mm.
I will work and work and work, but no one." And you know what? I'll never forget that, because
Wow.
a lot of people get challenged with kids, and so they can't take care of them, and they go into foster care or whatever.
Yeah,
But my mother vowed that she would keep it together, and she did.
that's awesome.
And yeah, she did that, and she instilled in us that living is giving, even though we didn't have a lot.
Mm.
I'm telling you, I go way back, honey. We had an outhouse. We didn't
Ooh.
have an inside street.
Wow. Yep.
I grew up hard.
Uh-huh.
I'm telling you, I can remember when we used to have we wouldn't even call it a refrigerator. We had an ice box.
Icebox. That's what my mom said.
Tell
Tell us. My mom told me about the icebox.
box.
And the ice truck came and dropped off a block of ice.
The man had the ice on the back of his back, and we have a card in the window that said 50 pounds of ice today. Anyway, I could go on and
I
on
love
about that.
it.
But
I love
anyway,
it.
that's where I grew up.
Uh-huh.
Right? Didn't have much, but you know what? We were poor. We were very poor, but we really didn't know it because we had a lot of love.
Yeah.
We had a lot of challenges. My mother was always there, and then later she was blessed to marry again. A man married her with 7 children, and his name was Jewel, and he truly was a jewel. He was
Wow.
20 years older than her, but he take care of us.
Uh-huh.
And we were raised in the church. I kind of fought it a little bit, didn't want, it was, we were raised in the Pentecostal church, very strict, very strict. I
Uh-huh.
mean, couldn't do anything, couldn't. But I thank God for my mother because some of the rules were just crazy.
Uh-huh.
And go to the movie, they didn't want us going to our prom. Mother said, yes, you're going. I don't believe God will hold that against you. But anyway, that's where I grew up. But I loved music. I
Uh-huh.
always loved music. And we had a little coffee table, had a little glass on it. So I take my fingernails and I click on the glass, right?
Uh-huh.
And be playing the piano, I thought. So my mother says, I have to buy her a piano. So my mother, she was domestic. She was housekeeper for a family.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, I have to raise money. And that day, $50 was like 50,000.
Right.
So she had to work extra to buy me a piano, $50.
Wow.
And I learned, so she sent me to take lessons. And so after I'd been taking lessons, I don't know, 4 or 5 months, I said, Mother, I don't want to take these lessons because now I'm playing for the church and they don't read music. And I have to listen to what they're saying and try to figure out where they're playing. So I learned to train my ear.
Wow.
So I play by ear.
That's
and so,
easy.
yeah, for ear. But I still took lessons, maybe a couple years. Wish I'd taken them longer. That's why I tell children to continue to take your music lesson.
Yeah.
Even though I can read music, I would have been a lot more far advanced. But I started playing for a church.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, they didn't read music. They start singing something. You'd have to figure out what key you're in, or they sang between the keys.
Right. Love it.
But I learned to play in the church.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people got their start in the church.
Yeah.
And so, but you know what? I always loved playing school. When school was out for the summer, I would take my books and things, and I wanted to start school again. So all neighborhood kids would come in, and I'd be the teacher.
Uh-huh.
And I started organizing things. Now, I was really young when I started doing this. I was like 10, 11 years old.
Right.
Didn't realize that God was putting something in me. I would need these organizational skills later in life.
Wow.
And so I was organizing parties and making out little invitations and getting all the kids in the neighborhood coming in the yard and playing and everything. And our house was like the meeting place. This is where all the kids would come, right? Mother had 7 kids, but she said, there's always room for one more.
Wow.
There's always room at the table for somebody else. And that's the way I was raised, as doing things, planning things, and then it just grew from there.
Yeah.
My mother wanted me to go to college for music, but that's not what I wanted to do at the time.
Uh-huh.
So I moved at 18 to Chicago.
Okay.
And I went to this Chicago to a church that my pastor in Indiana said, go to this church. And so I did. And later the churches kind of divided and split. So a new pastor came on the scene. That's a long story. But anyway, it was the Apostolic Church of God in Chicago. And the pastor, my pastor was Bishop Dr. Arthur Embrasier. And I became his secretary of the church and just started growing with the church.
Right.
We started out with less than 100 members. And it took a long time, but we had 25,000 members in that church. And I was able to...
Wow.
I was able to use all of the gifts that
wow.
I had as a child of organizing. And Bishop was my mentor.
Wow.
He taught me things. I worked with him in the neighborhood, the Woodlawn organization and neighborhood, where the gangs were, with housing that was just deteriorated and killings and all kinds of crazy things. You can read the stories. If people want to Google his name, Arthur Embrasier. They can learn so much about this phenomenal man. But again, I'm in training.
Right.
God is just using me from Indiana to Chicago. And then I started to work for Catholic Charities, one of the largest social service agencies in the Midwest.
Right.
And I worked there, and I started working in, it was called the anti-poverty department. And again, the skills and the things that I had learned, because now at this time I had no degree, right? I just had a high school education.
Right.
God just placed me in positions where I would just be creative with programs, set up programs, working in the community, working in areas that nobody wanted to work in. But I had Bishop Frazier behind me saying, you can do that, you can do that, you can do that, right? And then he was helping to reorganize the Woodlawn organization. So in Catholic Charities, then they sent me to college. 18 paid for my college. Got my bachelor's degree. I went on and did some work for my master's, but didn't finish my thesis.
Uh-huh.
So I did my master's. But I say God gave me a PhD
Yes.
because I was just so involved in so many things. And I'm rambling, so stop me at
No,
any
this
point.
is, yeah, we want to know the story. This is great. Yep.
But I think what I want to convey is that God starts using you when you're a child. He puts something in you,
Yeah.
and you nurture it. And sometimes you don't even know why you do what you do.
Yeah.
But God has a plan
Yes.
for all of us. And from a young child in Indiana, moving to Chicago, and then going to the Apostolic Church of God, which became one of the mega churches in Chicago when I was there, and then working for Catholic Charities. I always wanted to be in social work because when I was growing up and my mother was on welfare, they weren't very kind to her. Welfare workers weren't very nice.
Right.
And that was before my mom was remarried. And like I said, we were poor, didn't know it.
Right.
But I used to go to her to the Social Security office, and they would just talk down to her, really mean. And so I said in my mind, I was like 12 now. I said, when I grow up, I'm going to be a social worker. But I'm going to be a good social worker.
Yeah.
And I talked to God about that. So when I go back and say Catholic Charities, well, this is what God does. He put me with the largest social agency.
That's amazing.
See how God does?
Yep.
I didn't have a degree, but here I am with this large social service agency.
Yep.
And they paid for my college. And then, as one of the most remarkable, challenging things that God allowed me to do was to open a recovery home.
That was, I think you said that may have been your biggest accomplishment, is opening a recovery home. It was for women who were previously...
Women and children who had drug and alcohol problems.
Okay, so that's a big step and something to jump and do on your own. And now you're doing things on your own. So help us understand. One, I want to hear more about this this place that you opened. But what's the deal with the entrepreneurial spirit, right? There's something about you that it's one thing to be a part of or join the Catholic Charities. It's another thing to start these things that you started. What made you decide I'm going to start something?
Well, you know what? I think that's something that God just birthed in me when I was young, because I always have these little parties and things for the kids in the neighborhood. And I used to cut grass for 50 cents, and make a little bit of money. And I think it's just always something. I think all of us are gifted.
Yeah.
We just have to figure out where it is. I think God puts a gift in everybody.
Yeah. And
you just have to nurture it. And you kind of go with the flow. You don't know why you do things sometimes. And then you'll say, oh, 5 years later, that's why I was there, or that's why I did that, and you go on and do that. So I got into, with Catholic Charities, the reason I opened the recovery home was I had a daughter who got caught up in drugs, and I didn't know what to do. And I said, oh God, what am I going to do? So I went to a recovery home, and the gentleman said, I'm sorry, we just don't have any beds. We've got so many people on drugs. Wow. We can't service all of them.
Wow.
And I said, well, what am I going to do? What's going to happen to my child? And he said, she's probably just going to go back out there and be on drugs, So that's what happened. So then I remember that God spoke to me and said, open a home for people like your daughter. And I'm like, I can't do that. I don't know anything about this. So I dismissed it. I heard the voice, but I dismissed it. Right? So, and so later, I remember talking to a friend of mine. His name is Les Brown. And I remember he talked about his sister.
Is this like a random guy named Les Brown? Or the Les Brown? The Les Brown.
The Les Brown.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. The Leslie Brown. Brown.
I didn't really know him, but somebody had introduced me to him, and then he spoke it. And so what he said to me, you need to open a recovery home. Then the voice of God came back like that's what he had told me to do 3 months ago. So that was the confirmation. And I'm like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know. So Les put me in touch with a few people that he knew.
Yeah.
Long story short is, it was all the people I needed to know. I went to Catholic Charities, executive director, the administrator, and said, I've got to open a recovery home. And
Wow.
he looked at me. He said, a recovery home. So I gave him the story of why I needed to do it.
Yeah.
And he said, you don't even like to get up in front of people and speak. How are you going? And I didn't.
Yeah.
Lucas, at that time, I was not a person that wanted to be out front.
Yeah.
I always said, let somebody else do that, even
Right.
in my office. No, you all go do that.
Right.
I said, you know what? This is different. God said this is what I'm supposed to do.
Mm.
And they said, well, we don't have any money for the program. I said, well, if God gave me the vision, he'll make provision for
Yes. Yes.
Right?
That's right.
So I said, but if you could help me find a building, that would be very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Long story short on that is they had convents then. Well, the nuns were starting not to be nuns and didn't want to be nuns anymore. So they had all these convents that they didn't know what to do with. And so they said, well, we've got a couple of convents. Why don't you go to one of them? So I went to the one, walked in it. I said, oh, this one feels right. I'd like to have this one. So 2 days later, they said, sorry, can't have it. The Cardinals want to do something with it. And I'm like, well, do you have another one? So they sent me to another one. I went there and I said, this is okay, but I really like the other one. But God, if this is where you want me, then I know you'll make a way.
Sure.
You'll work it out. And so a week later, I got a phone call from the Cardinal's office that said, Betty, we don't know why the Cardinal changed his mind, but he wants to give you that contract.
Wow.
You wanted. And I'm like, oh, that's the one I really wanted. So I went to the convent. Right in the back door was a very famous church, actually, in Chicago. Was run by a Reverend Clay Evans. It was called the Fellowship Baptist Church.
Wow.
And so I said, well, I need to let him know that I'm his neighbor. So I got an appointment with him, and I began to tell him, Reverend, I told him who I was and what I wanted to do. And I said, and I have this convent behind you. And he said, what convent? And I said, the one behind you. He got up and he looked and he said, you mean the convent right there? And he pointed to it. I said, yes, sir. He said, He said, do you know how important I am in Chicago? And I said, well, yes, sir. He said, I went all the way to the governor to get that convent. And they told me the cardinal was giving it to a group of priests. I said, well, that was the plan, but he gave it to me.
Favor.
I'm telling you. And so I said, oh, Reverend, I'm so sorry. He said, no. You got it. God meant for you to have it.
Yes.
That's favor of God.
That's right. I love it. I love it.
And so the recovery home, I'd never done a recovery home, but God put the right people in my path.
Yes.
And just worked things out.
And now is this the recovery home where you met our famous friend? Is this where, okay, now my wife is here, and I think she knows that I was fond of this lady. I used to be, honey, before you. But there's a very famous actress who happened to come into your recovery home one day. Can you tell us that story?
Yes, I can. I walked into the conference room, and I saw this very tiny, cute little person. I didn't know who it was, and she stood up and she says, hi, I hope it's okay that I'm here. My name is Hallie. And I said, Hallie? And so she took her cap off, and I was like, oh, she said, Halle Berry? And I'm like, oh, my goodness, Halle Berry? Of course it's okay that you're here. How can I help you? Right? So she said, well, I'm here. I'm going to be doing this movie called Losing Isaiah.
Wow.
And she said,
amazing.
But I told Paramount Movies that I wouldn't do it unless I could research it. To find out more about women in recovery.
And of all the places in all the world.
Oh.
Wow.
And so they said, you need to go see Betty, and my name then was McDaniel. McDaniel at a place called Forever Free. That was the name of the recovery home.
Wow.
That's the name God gave me for the recovery home.
Incredible.
So she spent many days with us. Me and the young ladies in the program. They looked at the script, and they said, no, we don't talk like this. They changed parts of the script. And then she showed them what she was wearing. No, Hallie, that's not the way we dress. She says, well, dress me the way you dress.
Right.
And so they had a big part in that. So she said, okay. She said, I'm going to bring you onto the movie set, and I want some of the ladies to be in one of the scenes. So the very first scene of the movie are the ladies from my recovery home.
Amazing. You're there on set at Losing Isaiah.
in the room with Hallie, and she says to me, "This is just wonderful." She said, she said she had a felt relative who'd been on drugs, and she shared it with me, and we became friends. And in fact, my name is in the credits
That's
of the movie.
incredible.
My name is in the credits of the movie. It's Betty McDaniel,
Yeah.
and my recovery home, Forever Free, is also listed in there. So Hallie and I stayed in touch for a number of years, and even after I married and moved to Canton, Hallie sent me a card and congratulated me on being
Wow.
married. And we just kind of lost touch. But I'm hoping to regain. I want to get in touch with her again because I'm trying to raise some money for a place here for enrichment. So I need some
Awesome.
people to help me raise that money.
And she
So I'm
could
like,
do it.
I need to find Hallie.
Yes. Call Hallie back. Yes.
Also during that, Lucas,
Uh-huh.
also during that time, God opened a door for me to meet Michael Jordan's mother,
Wow.
Dolores. Yes, she came to the recovery home, and she just fell in love with the children and with the mission
Uh-huh.
And so I said, "Oh wow." I said, "Mrs. Jordan," I said, "This is wonderful." She said, "Betty, I love what you're doing." She said, just let's just enjoy what you're doing here. And
Uh-huh.
so then she invited me to one of Michael's parties. And so I got to meet Michael and talk to Michael.
You,
Michael's wonderful, but his mother is the bomb. His
his
mother,
mother's where it's at.
I said, "Michael, you're fine, but I love your mother." You know,
Wow. So
and she actually she came to Canton several times
really,
to support me when I did some things when I had multi-development services of Stark County.
I did
And
not
she
know
came
that.
here and she supported me in what I was doing. When I was, we had multi-development services of Stark County. So, and then her daughter, when I was in Chicago, she came to the church, Apostolic Church of God.
Uh-huh.
She became a member of the Apostolic Church of God and sang in the choir. And I used to direct the choir at the
Wow.
Apostolic Church of God. So I was a choir director too.
This is
250 voices.
incredible. This is
Yeah.
incredible.
So,
Steve Beatty, shout out to
yep.
Steve Beatty, who's here. He said, Chef Steve Beatty, he said, I remember that you introduced me to Dolores. So, Steve, maybe you were a young man back then. He's still a young man now. But he said you introduced him to Dolores. Steve, you never told me that you met Mrs. Jordan.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Yeah.
incredible. I don't think
Yeah.
I
I met
mean,
her. I met so many people in Chicago at the church. I mean, I became very good friends with Albertina Walker. I met Kirk Franklin, all the gospel greats, because I was on the
really?
Gospel Fest committee. Yeah,
Wow.
I was blessed to be on the Gospel Fest committee, and it's just wonderful. God just, I never worry about meeting celebrities because I say if God wants me to meet somebody, I'm going to meet them.
Yeah.
So
So
that's when the
cool.
doors open. You don't get anxious for anything. You just wait, and God blesses you. You don't have to fight through things and claw to get ahead. You just wait. Once your time, it happens.
That's
It makes it happen.
that's
That's what I.
incredible.
You just have to be patient. And wait, and then
That
God will open up those doors.
interesting. Steve said you gave him the stage to cater Gospel Joint Symphony. How cool is that? That is exciting.
Yeah,
So
that's right. That's a good. I love him. He's a wonderful young man.
yes,
I love Steve Beatty. Yes, that's right.
shout out
He's
to
awesome.
Steve. He's doing
He's
great
awesome.
things.
He's such a motivational speaker too. I love it when he came on my show once,
Uh
and
huh.
he was carving stuff and making it look all pretty and motivating the kids all at the same time.
Yeah.
I said, "Wow, he's gifted."
He is
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely great, great guy. Shout out to him. This is amazing, and thank you. You and I, as we talked this morning, and I told you, I've seen you in your show, and I said I started the show out of thin air. I didn't even know what was what. I don't know the rules, and I like that because if I don't know the rules, I can do whatever I want. But to hear you, to hear you say the things that you said, even it's just so inspiring. I mean, to think about that, the people you've met, and to say God just made a way. You were a faithful
Yeah.
servant. You do not appear to be a person, and I think you said this earlier. Your goal was not to get to the spotlight, the limelight, and even still, you're
Not at
just trying
all.
to serve people.
That's
Can
up
you
to everyone.
help our audience understand the power of that? Because somebody watching is saying, "I wish I could meet, Michael Jordan and Kirk Franklin and all these people, and my life, I'm just not that lucky." Tell us how it's not really luck. It's
It's not
God's
love.
hand in your life when you're
Right.
following and serving Him. Help us
when you,
understand
when
that.
you follow your when you follow what you know God has given you and that passion, and you don't know why, that
Yeah.
desire, that's, and sometimes God speaks to you and tells you to do things you're like, I know that's not God, because that's something you don't want to do.
Right.
But if it's something kind of a little crazy, they say, well, if it's a little crazy and out of the box, that's God. That's what He
Right.
does.
Right.
Because then you got to have the faith then to step out and do those things that you know that He's given you.
Man.
I mean, recovery home, what did I know about it? I didn't know anything.
Wow.
But He provided everything that I needed. Music,
Whew.
directing a major choir in Chicago. I came from Logansport, Indiana, playing on, by ear
Right.
with a choir.
Wow.
The members couldn't sing that well. And
Uh-huh.
then be in this church that becomes a mega church, and working with choirs. And we had 6 choirs at one time. And my minister was so awesome. I mean, people such as T.D. Jakes would come there before he was even became popular, and got to meet him and interact with him on our
Incredible.
retreats. And Bishop just helped so many people get started. And I was right there because I was the secretary of the official board, and I was his personal secretary, and he just guided me. And I remember when I told him I was going to get married, move to Canton, he couldn't believe it. First of all, I was in shock. You're going to leave Chicago and leave this one? I said, it's time for me to go. And so he said to me, Betty, you've been in training with me 40 years for Canton. And I said, Bishop,
Man.
I'm 55 and I'm retired. And he
Wow.
said, I'll give you a couple of years. You're going to be doing something in Canton. And I tell you, I've been here 3 months, and God spoke and said, can't retire. Too
Wow.
much to do.
Amazing.
Too much to do.
Mm.
Too much
I
to
love
do.
it. More to
Yeah,
do. That's what I say. Oh, more to do.
yeah. And so I
Yep.
had to go there, right? I had to
Yep.
get busy right here in Canton.
That's
But
incredible.
I learned a lot from Indiana, from Chicago, for Canton.
Right.
And I love Canton. People
Yeah.
say, don't you miss Chicago? No, when God gives you another mission, another
Yeah.
ministry, you don't miss what you left behind,
No,
because He's given you something more important.
now you said something to me today about when doors close, and it's funny because it was so simple, but for some reason for me it was like I had not heard this simple statement, or I never let it register like this before. You said when a door close. I've always heard when one door closes, another door opens. When one door closes, God will open a window. God will open up something. Right? All
Yeah,
true. All good. But
right.
you said to me when a door closes, what did you say?
Let it close.
Let it close. What does that mean? When a door closes, let it close. That is so hard. I'm telling you, because I
Yeah, I
said we
think
try to keep our foot in the new door and the old door and
right.
the new relationship, the old relationship, the new job, the old job, the new this, the old that, the Chicago, Canton. Help us understand.
No, 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 no. When it pushes and it closes, don't try to open it. Don't try to open it. It's
Right.
closed for a reason. It's closed for a reason. Just let it close.
Yeah.
It's hard sometimes. It's hard, and you want to go back and you want to try to pull and pull and pull and pull it open. But no, no, no. Let it close. God's got something else for you.
That's so awesome. It really resonated with me as someone who's had doors closed in my life, and I feel like I've lost a lot, in my life. I always felt like, how did that door close? And that door closed so fast? Or that door that I thought was a forever open door is now a closed door, sealed off, cement. It's gone. I can't find it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and it hurts sometimes because sometimes I want to go back through and relive or experience or
Right.
get closure. We always say, I need closure, I need closure. And God closed the door. And we're talking
Yeah.
about, I need some kind of
That's exactly right.
human closure.
Yeah, He closed it for a reason. For a reason. But you have to be in tune. I'll never forget an older lady in my church told me one time, Betty, develop the third ear. And she said, that's the ear you listen to God with.
Wow.
To develop that ear. Because He will speak to you in some kind of way. You'll
Yes.
feel a gut feeling or something. So develop that. And so
Yes.
you know it. And so I've taken that to heart.
Yeah.
I said, okay, I got to know that voice.
Yeah.
You got to know that feeling
Yep.
so you could move forward, even when you don't understand it.
Yes.
You
Help us
develop.
help us understand that. Let's talk a little bit more about your relationship with God and how that shaped it. Now, we can see the providence of God in your life, right? His hand in your life, if God were to have hands, being the God that he is, right?
Yeah.
He's with you. He's guided you. You surrendered. You were one of 7 siblings. You were poor and you didn't know it. I love that. My mom always said this shit. We didn't know poor is relative. If everybody poor, you don't know you're poor. Everybody got what they need.
That's right.
So he was taking care of you. You said your mother raised you to believe in service and life is
Oh,
about
yeah.
giving to others. Help us
Yeah.
understand God's role in your life and how you see God and seek God, because we've heard the story, but we want to hear the glory of God behind it, because I can tell it's a big part of everything.
Oh, most definitely. And just growing up in the way I did, and I didn't understand. I didn't know God. I mean, I heard, you might go to church,
Yeah.
praying and all that, but I didn't really know. I really didn't
Mm.
understand. And
It's
it wasn't
deep.
until I got older and moved to Chicago that I would look back on my life and see things that I did and say, oh, now I know why I did that, because I need that skill, or I need whatever that was to help me in the journey that I'm on now.
Wow.
So as I began to do that and look back and say, or why did this happen to me? Why am I going through this? Why am I being challenged? Why is my daughter on drugs?
Yeah.
Why is this happening? But there's always a purpose
Yeah.
for it. You have to seek it. You can't just be angry and be mad and be mean. You have to start and say, God, I know you're in this. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Please help me, or seek me. Help me to help send. I always ask the Lord, send me a sign. I
Yeah.
do. I've done that since I was young.
Mm.
Send me a sign. Send somebody something,
Yeah.
and He will. He
Yes.
will give it to you. Sometimes I'll say, I need another one.
Uh-huh.
Like this one, but I need
One
another
more,
one.
Dad.
He'll send it.
Wow.
He'll send it. But that's how you build your faith.
Yes.
That's why I'm on everything I've done, Lucas. It's been a faith walk. I've
Mm.
never had any money,
Mm.
you know, but I've had a vision,
Yeah.
and God makes provision for
Whew.
my vision.
I love it.
So you start with nothing. Anything I've ever started, I've never had any money.
Mm.
And when Catholic Charities said, Betty, we don't have any money for your program. And I said, well, give me the building. They did. And I got to tell you one story there. I had no money for this program. Catholic
Mm-hmm.
Charities had no money.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave me a board member. And I found out later it was a board member that they weren't too fond of. No, give him to Betty, right? This board member God used to open a door for me to a major foundation
Mm.
who gave me $100,000 to start my program. So when Catholic Charities said, Betty, how did you? I said, you gave me the board member to open the door for me.
God.
Oh,
Oh.
100,000. So I called Bishop right away. I said, Bishop, and I gave him the name of the foundation. I said, they're giving me 100,000. He said, Betty, let me tell you something.
Whew.
I know that foundation. They don't fund programs like yours. That's God saying
Wow.
you're on the right track.
Wow.
Then the next grant that I got, Lucas, I called the children's services there and said, you've got a lot of women on drugs. And they said, oh, no, we don't. We don't have, they really believed they didn't.
Wow.
And I said, no, you do. And I said, give me some money and I'm going to show you.
Right.
I'm going to work with these women. They gave me $500,000. My first.
Well, how much?
$500,000.
You've thrown out numbers that I've never heard people say, from a grant, from a charity, from a.
And this was a long time ago. So today that would be, a couple million.
That's incredible.
Right. And then what did it show? That 90% of the women in their caseload had drug problems.
And they had no idea.
Had no idea.
Wow.
So recovery homes started popping up everywhere. Just
Uh-huh.
and then I got, the Drug Administration Board was very angry because they'd given me, Betty McDaniel, that money, and
Uh-huh.
she didn't know about drugs and alcohol, blah blah blah. So there was a controversy going on there, and I'm like, God, this battle is not mine; it's yours.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, you put me here,
You did
work it
it.
out,
You gonna work it
and he
out.
did it, and he did it. He
People,
did it. I'm
I
telling
love these stories because this show is about education, motivation, liberation. It is about the glory of God. It is about people understanding. When I have guests on, I don't prep the guests and say, "What do you know about Jesus? What can you tell us about God? You have to have a God story to come on my show." I don't. I never say that. But 99, I don't know if I've had anybody on who has not given God glory for their
you. Oh
story, for the journey, for what he's
yeah.
brought them through, for what he's
Oh yeah.
brought them to, for how they got where they are. And ladies and gentlemen, somebody out there is questioning God, doubting God, starting to look at other gods, and you don't know it's other gods, but you're getting into some
Yeah.
weird stuff from the
Yeah.
music and the movies and the social media and all this other stuff because they make it like it's all the same. It's not all the same. There is a one true God out there, and he is
Right.
powerful, and he is almighty, and he is the most
Oh
high God. And that's why he
yeah.
said it. I am the most high God. You can choose to worship other stuff and have other
Right.
gods if you want to. You can make money your God. That $500,000, God knew he could trust it to you because he knew you wouldn't make it your Lord all of a sudden. You wouldn't then
That's
be
right.
guided by the money, but your purpose and his plan was going to be the driver, and the money was just the provision to fuel the
That's
car,
right.
to fill the tank so you could go where God wanted you to go.
Yeah.
What you've done has been phenomenal. What you're doing has been amazing. And I'm so glad that people got to hear your story today and got to be inspired by it and inspired by you. If you could tell our audience something to take away that you've learned through your journey that would help them get on track to do what they're called to do. Because like you were called to do something and you've
Yeah.
lived your whole life pursuing it. And it looked different at different seasons, but it was all service to people. Can you help people out there understand how they
Yeah.
can find
First of all, get
their
to know
dreams?
God, get to know Him, get to learn to walk with Him
Yeah.
and to talk with Him and to read His Word and let it permeate your body and your soul and
Yeah.
wake up with Him in the morning and
Mm.
know that it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Even though everything in your life is, I've had a lot of tragedy in my life, in my family. I lost family in the Guyana, um, over in Guyana. I
Wow.
lost sister, and I lost a father to drugs and alcohol. I lost a brother who committed suicide. I've lost a lot, but
Wow.
I've never lost my faith in God.
Woo.
You have to you need God to keep you when those things happen in your life,
Yes.
to keep you grounded. I mean, I could become angry and bitter, and no, don't do that. Don't
Yeah.
do that. And always find someone that you can talk to,
Yes.
that's there to kind of mentor you.
I
And
love it.
that's what Frazier came in my life. And of course, now my husband, I talk with him a lot, and he inspires me. And I love the children that I work with in enrichment.
Uh huh.
They keep me going. I tell you, I love them. I see good in all of them. There's no such thing as a bad child.
Wow.
There's good in everybody.
I love
And
it.
just look for the good in people.
Yes.
That's what I say. Look for the good in people. And even with the things that we're going through now, and the Black Lives Matter and everything, we have to come together and we have to do
Yes.
the right thing. It's our time.
Yes. Yes.
God set this time, I believe, for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
We have to take advantage of this time and learn to work together and to love one another and support one another.
I love it.
Very important.
Miss Betty Smith, you've been amazing. It's been an honor and a pleasure getting to know you today. Um,
Yeah.
our audience has been putting up hands of worship in the comments. They have surprise faces at some of the things you've said, at the amazing hand of God in your life. They're saying, "Wow," and they can't believe it. What God has done. Your story has inspired us. I know there's others who can carry this mantle, right? There's others
That's
who
right.
have work to do. You've
That's
done
right.
this work for so long, and you're
Yes,
continuing to do it. And it's time for more, right? It's time for more people to
that's
step up
right.
and say, Betty Smith did not put a monopoly on enrichment programs and helping
That's
youth
right.
and helping others. And I'm sure you'd love to get some help and support and volunteers, as well as see others start their own thing and help kids, because there's
Oh, definitely.
more help that's needed
Our
out
kids
there.
need it. And I want to say, too, age is just a number.
Yeah.
when people say, "Oh, I can't wait to retire. I can't wait to retire." Fine, maybe retire from that job, but never retire from giving back and doing something to help somebody else.
I love it.
Retirement is in heaven. That's what
Yes, I
I
love
say.
it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. You've been an amazing, amazing guest, Miss Betty Smith. You
Thank
stay
you
here
for
on the
having
line. I want to talk to you after the show.
me.
Ladies and
Okay.
gentlemen, thank you again. It's been a pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you guys being here on another episode of Lucas Live. I want to shout out our sponsor again today. We have Flawless Touch here. Check it out on Facebook. Make sure you check out these great pictures at Flawless Touch LLC. If you want to get your windows tinted on your car, they have great work that they do here. You guys can see that here. If you're in the Northeast Ohio area, make sure you check out Flawless Touch. Get your car, get your windows tinted. Looks good. The privacy glass is something that I think everybody should check out. So make sure you guys check out our sponsor for today's show, Flawless Touch. And you guys make sure you check out Miss Betty Smith. She was just amazing, inspirational. The work that she's done, a life of service. And she's not done yet. She's still doing it. She's going to retire one day in heaven. One day she'll relax. One day she'll sit back and celebrate on streets of gold. But for now, she has her feet on the pavement. She's still out there working with youth, still out there serving people. And we all have work to do, ladies and gentlemen. We can cry about the ills of the world and what's wrong and what the government's not doing and politicians and police and all of that. Or we can say, you know what? I'm going to get to work. I'm going to do something. While I may not agree with all the things going on, while I may not like it, while I may want to see change and I need to fight for change, all fine. But I need to make sure that I'm doing something to meet the needs, to serve the people of our communities, to serve the people around us, to serve our family and our friends, to serve our churches and all those around us. We have a call. We have work to do. Ladies and gentlemen, you guys know that I believe strongly that I have more to do. I created this show to serve others, and I believe it's meant to do more, to reach more, to serve more. And I thank God that I've had an opportunity on this platform to give God glory. I thank God for all the wonderful guests who have come on and shared their story and shared what God has done for them, because I know for me, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for God. I wouldn't have this show if it wasn't for God. I wouldn't have my sanity if it wasn't for God. I wouldn't have my family if it wasn't for God. So I thank God for everything He's done in my life. I thank God for all of you. I thank you for our loyal listeners and all of our guests and our first-time viewers and our replay watchers and everybody out there. We appreciate it. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Eastern for another wonderful show of Lucas Live. Everybody